Let's try some for the upper back. So reaching up, pulling the head right back. And down, pulling the head forwards, pushing the chin into the chest, looking down to the fingers, stretching the back of the neck. Again, up. And down. Up and out. Turning the head. Then forming fists and a few twisting. And then the hands behind the back, clasping the fingers, the hands straightening the arms, pulling the shoulders right back, and now rotating the head. And the other way. Then winding it down. And then holding the elbows behind the back. So now the arms are bent. Now let's lean forwards. So leading with the chin. And then to come back up, squeeze the buttocks. Then turning to the left knee and going down over that. And squeezing to come up. And then right knee. And squeeze. Oh. Okay, now let's repeat them, but with the arms straight. So holding the hands again, straightening the arms, pulling the shoulders right back. And when we go down and try and get the arms vertical behind us, so leading with the chin again. And then as you get deeper down, just pull the arms up behind you. And squeezing to come back up. And then the left knee. And lifting the arms. And squeezing. And then the right knee. And up. Good. And now just round to prayer. And now we'll try the reaching, but remember this is for the intent. So I see the line. So I'm going to reach up with one hand and I see it in my mind's eye before the hand actually does it. So I establish the intent and my hand follows that. And then just feel how your mood has to change to actually pull the hand back down. And then a few forwards, turning the head to look behind. Then some to the sides. So just a stronger twist, really. And then the strong twist, hand behind the back, opposite hand on the knee. And just breathing round. Every time you breathe out, just pull round a tiny bit more. And release out a bit slowly. And the other side. And the other side again. And the other side. And then back round. Now let's try some work on the dantians. So first the lower dantian. So we establish that with the abdominal breathing. So pulling the belly right in, so all the air is expelled, and then you relax back out, and air will come in. So I'm tensing the belly. That's the breathing out phase. Then relaxing the belly, and air comes in. And now let's just try a few reversing the breathing. So as you pull the belly in and tighten this region, breathe in. So I pull everything in, including the breath. And then I relax, everything comes out, including the breath. Pulling in, relaxing out. Good. And now just alternating. So forget the breathing. Clenching one side and relaxing the other. And just feel how it's effectively little figures of eights you're doing in the belly. And then the heart center. Now the chest breathing will do a little bit of that. So breathing in, expand the chest. And breathe out, just let it empty. Breathing in and out. Then into prayer, hands up and out, turning one hand over and turning the head, turning the hands, trying to get the back hand looking up from underneath. So it really has to twist at the arm. Again, it's the same center, it's the heart center we're working, but now getting it as like a figure of eight. And gradually bringing the hands in, keeping them figure of eighting until we're just doing the figure of eight exercise. But quite a big one, so it fills the whole torso, gets up to the top of the head. But the heart is the center of this figure of eight. Imagine you're tracing the one figure of eight rather than two side by side. And gradually reduce the size of the figures of eights until it's enclosed in the heart region in the chest. Reduce it even more until they're quite tiny. And back to prayer. And now let's try and combine those two senses. Remember, John used to say that the dantian, the lower dantian, and the heart are all part of the same organ. So we can combine them with the breathing, combining the chest breathing and the abdominal breathing. So first, breathing in from the chest. So tensing to actually expand the chest, and then relaxing that, and you'll breathe out. And now drop your mind to the dantian and really pull the dantian in to breathe everything out. And then relax that tension, and the belly will come out and some air will come in. And now expanding the chest and relaxing that, and then contracting the belly and relaxing that. So I'm trying to breathe everything out, much more than I normally do. And then I'm trying to breathe in as much as possible. And then I relax that. So the belly's got a tension phase, pulling in, followed by a relaxation phase. Chest has a tension phase, expanding out, followed by a relaxation phase. So the relaxation phase just naturally springs back when you release the tension you've built up. So this is the return. And then back into prayer. Now let's bring it down to the belly again. Now we'll just try a few for the thread that pulls the head up. So just letting one hand come out and reach out to the side and lift it up above the head, and then as though your fingers are dipping down into your skull, and then pulling a thread out and extending it upwards to the ceiling, and then slowly back down. And then the other side. A couple more. Let's just rub the hands. The eyes. bring the mind to the head point. So between the eyebrows and in. With the hands up and out. And keeping the head still, snaking the hands and turning the eyes in the head to look at the hand that's coming in. And both hands out. And then snaking the hands again, but without moving the eyes, but being aware of the movement in your peripheral vision. And both hands out. And round to the front and back into prayer. And now rubbing the hands again. And the hands over the sacroiliacs. Just try and relax the shoulders. And let's rub the hands again, and we'll do the back of the head. And the hands on the back of the head. Pull the hands apart very gently, like you're trying to expand and open up the back of the head. So all of these three dantians have the same sort of structure. You've got the point of the dantian, and then these two places behind. So you can think of sacroiliacs for the lower dantian, or the kidneys, the lungs for the heart, and then these two lobes of the back brain for the head center. They're like silos, like storage places where the energy gathers. And now just bringing the hands round and fingers on the head, thumbs at the back where your hands have just been, and very gently just trying to stretch the head up, lengthen the neck. To get that working, you need to do something with the lower spine as well. So just feel that. And then just start drawing some energy from the head. So first around the ears. And those points at the back of the head where we had the hands. And then just everywhere. And then just opening the hands like a bowl, you're making a bowl. Like a tree. Just feel how strong your spine, your trunk needs to be to support this. And then just extend the arms right up and back down to this head point. It's a prayer, but opposite this head point. And then just figure eighting the inside the head. The top of the figure eight's reaching right up to the top of the skull, and the bottom of the figure eight's sort of looping around the jaw. And then bring it down to the heart. So it's a bit bigger. and then down to the dantian, so it gets smaller again. And now let's link those three centers just by bringing the energy down. So first, just reaching out with the hands, and then the middle of the palms come to the top center. And then you turn the hands a little so it's your thumbs pointing at the hair into the head, and then slowly bringing the energy down to the dantian. So now my thumbs are pointing into my dantian. And then I roll the hands out again and repeat. The structure of the exercise is approximate. So it's more the feeling. You see the Chinese, when when they're sort of gathering themselves to do something that requires a bit of concentration. Even the children, they'll do this, just one. They'll just gather their energy and just pack it down into the dantian, and then they'll do what it is they intended to do. Now let's try one hand at a time. So in a way, it's easier to feel, because when you do both arms together doing the same thing, they do tend to cancel each other out a bit. So one hand goes out, and I'm just bringing down this energy. And the other side. Then alternating them. So one hand up and down, and as it starts coming down, let the other one go out. And then just bring it back to here. And the butterfly. And then kneeling. And the fetus. back up, separating the feet a bit, sitting down between them. And fetus again. And up. And now it's just coming to the squat. Okay, so let's start by pumping. And sinking into the legs. So each time you go down, you don't come up quite as much. And alternating the arms. And bringing the feet up and just trying some of this from the openness here. Just let yourself turn with it. And slowly just let a bit of action come into the tail. So remember, I'm bringing my weight into this foot, but I'm driving my tail down into the heel that's on the ground. And then just into the slow jog. And then into riding horse on the heels. So feel the openness here. And coming off the heels. So now the energy's coming up into the thymus, especially the upper heart. A real sense of something projecting out of the thymus. You feel the tail doing the same thing, but behind you. And then rocking back onto the heels. So one goes down, gets sucked into the ground, and the other one goes down, gets sucked into the ground, and I'm back into riding horse with a sense of my sacrum sinking and moving forwards. We very much want this feeling that the sacrum is beneath these two centers, so that these two centers can just spring open and reach upwards. That's the meaning of bum in. It's also the root, because when this comes in, that's when it also just reaches right down into the ground, like a tree again. It's only because I've got my root in the ground that this can then open up to the sky. Or flower. And now let's come off the heels again. And just feel the spine changing shapes. It's like I'm squeezing my tail out behind me, and I'm squeezing this out forwards. So I'm wanting to come on all fours basically with a horizontal spine and my tail extending behind and my head and my gaze extending in front. It's only my heavy sacrum that's maintaining this relatively vertical stance. And then heels down, gets sucked down into the ground. This one gets sucked down into the ground. And riding horse, we just have to have the courage really just to sink down into those heels. So very much a sense that the heels are sinking into the ground rather than purchasing upon the ground. If anything, it's the front of the foot that's actually on the ground, and then the heel can really sink down behind it. And now moving side to side the way we do. So my empty leg straightens and then it bends, gathers the weight, and then this leg straightens and bends. So when the foot is active, when it's moving me, the front of the foot is working, but when it's supporting me, it's my heel. So here, the heel comes up a little bit on this leg, and that pulls me. And then as my weight comes into it, I put the heel down, just really sink down into the heel. And then this heel can come up. This sense that you've only ever really got one heel on the ground at a time. Straightening the leg, bending the leg. Straightening the leg, bending the leg. Use the straightening not simply to prepare for the bending, but to really drive yourself into the other heel. So it's as though I have more than 100% of my weight in the foot. I've got my weight, but I've also got the thrust from the straightening leg. And then if I just relax that, I'll naturally spring back. It's a bit like the breathing. I tense and then I relax and I spring back and then I tense to pull myself into the foot. And as you continue, bring your mind to the little toe. Feel it extending and causing you to turn away from it. So this action in the legs moves us from side to side, but it also turns the body. The straightening leg becomes the back leg. The bent leg becomes the front leg. just remember to connect with the heel of the weighted leg. Because we're using the front of the foot a lot, there's a tendency to stay there. Once my weight gets more than 50% into the leg, I really want to settle into the heel. Okay, and now using the same action, but to produce a turn around the spine rather than the movement side to side too much. So again, I'm straightening this leg and that pushes this hip right round. And then I bend this leg, it pulls the hip back to the front. And then I straighten this leg and it pushes here. But just go really slowly and then you can feel it. Want to feel this alternating action of the two legs producing a turn, a stationary turn. There was basically, we have two actions as a human being. Breathing, where we have two phases, one followed by the other, endlessly. So you think, most things are like that. Even eating, you eat and then you shit it out. It's like an in-breath and an out-breath. And then we have this action where one side of the body is doing one phase and the other side of the body is doing the other phase. And that's basically walking. And that requires more spirit. So what we're trying to do really is just, relax the controlling mind that tends to do these things. I want to feel it very much as these two entities, my right side, my left side, cooperating really carefully to produce this turn. And if it is that, rather than just you turning, then it will just look much more energetic. It will have a tremble to it, a shimmer. Just feel the importance of the little toe. It's the same as the little finger when we do the reaching exercise. As we reach with the hand, it tends to be the little finger that's extending out courageously. The same feeling here is my little toe that's reaching, and then my little toe catches the ground and pulls me back. And then let's just bring it to riding horse for a sec. Again, I just See what, as soon as we come back to something, the head cuts off from what's around and starts considering the body. So what that means is I've tipped forwards like this a little bit. It's the problem with having the eyes up here and me being underneath the eyes. So I just want to then just re-establish this sacrum down and forwards so that these two centers can lift up and out. And now let's try a bit of that circuit. So reaching up, and then the energy comes down the body, but down the front of your torso, and then through these groin points, out of the sacroiliacs, and down the backs of your legs, cuts under the ground, comes up the front of your legs, back into these groin points, back out of the sacroiliacs, and up your back, down the front of your torso, through the groin, down the backs of the legs, under the feet, up the front of the legs, into the groin, out of the sacroiliacs, and up. So it goes down the backs of the legs and the sides of the legs, and it comes up the front of the legs and the inside. And then just back into riding horse. Let's try a little bit of the two circles. So really feeling like you're wrapping your arm around someone and then cuddling them in. Once you feel it established in the arm and the soft part in the chest, just get it in the legs and the groin as well. So effectively, you're sending the arm out and then bringing the elbow up in to sort of ward off. And it's that lifting of the elbow that softens this part beneath the collarbone. So the same with the leg, really. It's the knee rising, similar to the elbow rising, that actually softens this bit in the groin just above this tendon. My arm is yielding to the other person, and my leg is yielding to the ground. So when you yield, you suck the thing into you. So I'm sucking this person in, and then if need be, I just continue the turn so they go past me rather than knock me over. If you yield well, then you're yielding to the person's spirit and mind, really, not their body. So you've yielded before their body's even reached you. Okay, back to riding forwards. Just feel this driving forwards a little bit. So when you get this in the right position, sacrum, then the heart will want to lift and open upwards rather than forwards. So that when I'm working on a student, I'm just trying to get their good posture, really. So they'll be standing here in front of me looking that direction. I just place one hand on the sacrum and one hand on the sternum. And just in my mind, really, I'm just working them away from each other. So hardly any force. I mean, they can feel it, but they don't feel it as a pressure. They just feel it as like a suggestion. So this, imagine you've got this hand on your sacrum, it's just helping it down. So you having to bend the legs a bit. And then this hand on your sternum, which is just encouraging it to lift upwards. And now let's bring the feet off a bit. And now just turning, just the first warm-up exercise, knocking the gates of life. So the hands striking the Dan Chen and the Ming Men on the way back to the front. So they swing out as you turn to the side, and then they pull in as you turn back to the front. Again, I want to feel it as that action of the 2 feet rather than me just doing this turn side to side from my hips. Good. Now let's try a bit of this one again. So it's always a good idea to come back to this one. So the heel goes down, but the weight doesn't really go into it, but I'm pointing my tail down. So that's the bottom of the figure of eight. Bottom of the figure of eight is the tail extending into the heel. Top of the figure of eight is the thymus wanting to open up and blossom outwards. And that's from the front of the foot. And now let's try the same thing, but with slightly wider. Bringing the heel up on the side that's coming upwards. Okay. Now let's try a bit on bow and arrow. So just this exercise of reaching. The arm and the leg of the same side of the body are doing the same thing. Straightening, then bending, straightening, then bending. You may have noticed on YouTube and places like that, all these sort of advertisements for Tai Chi Zoom classes, I guess they are. So it's obvious from seeing the ridiculously muscled Chinaman teaching it that it has nothing to do with yielding. And of course, we know that yielding is the essential concept in Tai Chi. So everything that we do is relating to another energy. So I straighten my leg and open this point here in order to suck something into it, not simply to close it again. I open in order to receive. I extend in order to give. So my straightening, I'm extending a welcome to the other person. And then the bending is simply drawing them into an internal space. And that's yielding. And that's what we're practicing and trying to get better at. And if you do that, then your practice will make you a better person rather than simply a stronger one or a fitter one. This was always John's contention. So I open and draw something in. The other side extends and then draws something in as it. So you're enveloping rather than closing something out. So reaching forwards, but then scooping around something and bringing it in and bringing it into this point in the groin. So you mustn't put the weight in the leg too soon because this needs to stay open long enough until the hands come in really. So, we just have to delay the weight transfer. It's like the weight is really sluggish and reluctant to move. Remember the one of us, the student that had this real look of real lazy movement. He was in the leg and just, it's like his body just didn't want to leave. It was Mac. And John always said that his was the best. So he'd be doing something here and eventually his body would reach it. So he had that just look of that sort of liquid look. Well, a hell of a lot of activity, but not in the body, in the energy more than the body. Let's try a bit with the other foot forwards. So just get it going first, and then you can fiddle with it. So this modern Tai Chi is just another bourgeois selfish pursuit. People don't want to feel anymore. Certainly not the other person. Okay, so let's just bring it into riding horse again. sacrum forwards, then this will open upwards. Okay. Let's just try a little bit of this one again before we pick a foot off the ground. And now just coming into the leg, but with the lean. So I just let my torso lean and I just let the foot come off the ground. Just enjoy leaning. We don't do it in Tai Chi, certainly not to the side. So this whole side is relaxed, and my hand is trying to just drip into the ground. And then this side can sort of evaporate upwards. So when I do it with my students, we normally have a chair in front of us so that we can keep the balance without getting anxious. And then just pull the knee up a little bit higher than you can get it unassisted. So we're just trying to get into the sacroiliacs, especially this one, the one for the leg that you're standing on. It's a great exercise, this or that. If you do it a while, you'll really feel the joints when you're finished. I think the sumo starts this week, either this week or the one after. It's well worth a look. I'm amazed by how, when I recommend to my students that they just watch the sumo, the only thing they can see is just how fat they are. They don't see their spirit and their beauty and their honor and heart. They just see their fat. To see heart you need a heart. Okay, and now we're just going to step out to the side. So first of all, just rolling the knee like this to loosen the hip and the groin. So I'm rolling the knee, but I'm also sort of rolling the hip a little bit just to get it all really loose. And then I put the heel down and let myself be slowly sucked into the foot. And then I can lift this foot, and I'm really in the outside edge of the leg I'm standing. And then I just step out. Again, reaching with the little toe. My little toe is really extending. And then I pull myself into the foot by bending it, sink down to the heel and lift this foot up and just place it down. And now let's try stepping with the right leg. So first loosening the left. It's a nice exercise, this rolling. So it loosens the hip, but it loosens the mind as well. So you just get a bit playful and silly. And then foot goes down and I get sucked by the front of the foot. And then I flow down the leg into the heel. And then this foot can come up. And then I step out, really reaching with the little toe. So that requires me to turn towards this corner a little bit. And then I start moving into this foot by catching the ground with the little toe. And then using the whole of the front of the foot to pull myself around. And then sinking into the heel once I've got my weight in the leg. And lifting this foot up. And then just placing it down. Okay, so let's try those again. So first, I'm going to step with the left foot, so we have to loosen the right. And I get drawn into the leg, sinking down that outside edge, but especially the heel. Pick this foot up and step out, really probing with the leg, extending, catching with the little toe, pulling myself into the foot, flowing into the heel, and bringing this foot up. And then down, and then straightening the legs, but not to the point of breaking with the ground. And now stepping this side, so loosening the left leg. So 1, and I'm pulled into the outside edge, and I settle into the heel. I lift this foot right up, and then I just probe. So you're sort of probing into the darkness because you're turning away from it. This is the thing about spirit. It gets stunted and inhibited by your knowing mind. So it's much prefers to sort of reach into places you're not really aware of. And now let's just effectively do the first step of the form. So first just stepping with the left foot out as we do. So first loosening the right. And I get drawn across. This foot comes up. I probe out. And then I circle. And I circle with the other hand, but instead of that bringing the foot up, it just brings the toes round. Right. And now let's stepping that direction. So loosening the left hip first. So round. flowing down into the heel, lifting this foot up, and then probing, and then circling around the foot, circling around this foot, just using that to bring the toes in. So you end up most of the way here. Now let's just try the next bit. So just drop the fingers, then the wrists pulled up, and then drop the elbows, bring the hands in towards the shoulders, and then drop the elbows and sink, and let the hands come down onto their cushions of air. Okay, now let's step that way. So rolling, opening this hip. So round, stepping out, and then circling around the foot, then circling around this foot, bringing the toes in. And now relax the wrists. Wrists pulled up by threads so the shoulders stay relaxed, and then just think heavy elbows, and that will start with the wrists moving towards your shoulders, and then drop the hands down. And now stepping this, let's try, you remember when we first started, and the way John did that bit is basically the way Chin Man Ching does it. So I'll show you, it's difficult to see this way. So you're here, so the wrists come up, and then Chin Man Ching brings his fingers up so his hands are flat, the fingers extending, and then the elbows drop to bring the hands in flat, and then they drop. So it's just that bit of extending the fingers. So let's try doing it that way. So again, stepping out to the left, so I'm rolling the right hip. So stepping, and then circling the foot, circling this foot, bringing the toes round, and relax the sacroiliac so that you're really just flowing down both legs. And then relax the wrists. Wrists are pulled up, and then just let the fingers extend so the whole arm is straight in front of you. And then think heavy elbows and bring the wrists in towards the shoulders, keeping the hands flat and the fingers pointing forwards. And then the fingers point up as the elbows drop and you do. And now stepping this way, so loosening the left foot. So 1, 2, 3, and ooh. And ooh, really probe that little toe, and then grab the ground. Circle this one to bring the toes round. And now wrists pulled up by threads. Once they get to the height of your shoulders, the fingers just extend in front of you. So you can really put a bit of intention in those fingers, and then drop the elbows. Let the wrists come in, and then down, and cushions of air. Great. Okay, so let's just bring it to riding horse and finish. So again, it's all the time now. Just bring the hands onto your sacroiliacs or even your kidneys, and just brush down with the hands so that you're pulling your bum in and down. You need pretty strong legs, really. So that's really the bum in the form. Just try a bit of the breathing. So pulling the belly in, breathing everything out, then relaxing the belly, some air will come in, and then expanding the chest. The chest fills, the lungs fill completely, and then relax that and some air will come out. And then pull the belly in, push the diaphragm up to expel all the air from the lungs, and then relax that. Some air will come in, and then really expand the chest so the lungs fill completely, and then relax that. So the way the Chinese explain it is that when you pull your tummy in to breathe out, you're expelling stale air from the bottom of the lungs, which tends to just gather and never have to exit. So here, imagine you're just squeezing your lungs and pushing everything out your nose. And then just relax and air will come back in. And now breathing into the upper lung, so the chest, and then relaxing, and that will come out. And then pulling the belly in, squeezing all the air from the deep lungs, and relaxing, air sucks back in, and expanding the chest. Air comes into the upper lung and out. We just want to be aware of these 4 phases involved with the breath. So what looks like 2 phases is really 4. Because each phase, the in-breath and the out-breath, has a tension part and a relaxation part. So tensing my belly, relaxing my belly, tensing my chest or expanding it. It's really tensing the lower back and then relaxing that, pulling the belly in, relaxing, tightening the lower back and relaxing. And then just bring it into riding horse. Feel the sacrum. And then just bringing the feet up. And remember, just don't let it snap. So you're just straightening the legs as much as you dare without breaking the energetic connection that we've developed with the ground. Just feel the 2 sides. Okay, good. Just wind it down.